Today's guest is Shooby, a guy who started his first company before finishing uni. Back then he launched a creative agency called Mood, working with clients like Amazon Music and the Australian government. Think website overhauls, music videos, and full-blown marketing campaigns. Now he's running What Works Global, which is like Mood 2.0. It's a consultancy with much of that same talent that helps companies figure out what actually works in marketing and tech. We ended up workshopping a real pitch that I'd done earlier this year, and he shared some really useful stuff on how to price your services and why he reckons inbound marketing is the better long-term play for your business. So let's get into it. Maybe we should go back to the start of Mood. You started a business straight out of uni. Something that I've personally wrestled with is whether I should dive in, try learn on the fly, or maybe build up some of that experience cutting my teeth at a bigger company. How do you think about that trade-off from your perspective now?
I guess on my side, I chose to dive straight in. And so I started my first business, Mood, when I was in my second year of uni. Funnily enough, I was studying entrepreneurship and global e-business as units at the time. And I actually failed both units, which is just the classic startup story. But yeah, failed those units as I was starting the business. And yeah, I mean, I think just in today's day and age, like all the knowledge and information is at your fingertips. A lot of advisors and people are at your fingertips as well, people with lots of experience. You know, if you're willing to go out and find them, obviously Sebren's a great resource to be part of, and that's a big part of how my journey started. Yeah, so I think if you just really want to make it happen, it's possible to make it happen. You know, without having to cut your teeth. It just means you're gonna screw up a lot, but that's not a bad thing either. You learn a lot that way.
And take me back to that first client for Mood. What did things look like for you at the time? Who were you and what were you trying to build?
Oh man, that's a good question. Early days clients, we had a fair few. Because the way the business started, it was creative agency, quite heavy on video and music, but then fairly quickly expanded into design and broader service areas as well. So there's a lot of early day clients. One that just, there's early clients that we did little bits of work, and one of them was funnily enough like some guy who had a startup, and it was like an underwear subscription.
Okay.
And it was like making undies fun, and like undies with like fun prints and graphics and stuff on them, and it was like you just get a fresh pair every month.
Sure. And
that was his startup. Like, it was crazy. What else was there? I remember we did our first website. It was for another local startup that specialized in, they were doing a lot of building products that scan the environment of the inside of a building. So things like temperature, sound, occupancy, all that sort of stuff, and feed that data back to like a central hub that actually manages the building for them. So that was really cool. And, back then I think the budget for that website was like $5,000, and that felt like a huge deal at the time. Yeah.
But you're these second year uni students, scrappy, failing courses.
Yeah.
What gave you the confidence to go to these grown-ups with their businesses and pitch yourself to be like, look, we can do a good job?
I think in the early days, it was very much a fake it till you make it. And, we had some idea of, how to do these things. Just even through uni projects, we'd built websites and done things like that as well. So it wasn't hard to offer it. It was, and it's harder doing it and just, doing it right and doing it in a way that meets the client's needs and makes people happy and they're happy to part with their cash for and all of that as well. So, it was very much a win the project, whatever it was, as long as it was within our capabilities. And noting we're all juniors, so our capabilities were quite junior as well. But, we'd figure it out, basically. And that's how we effectively grew the company.
And when you started growing, you need somewhere to actually run the business. Can't just be cafes and kitchen tables forever.
Yep.
How did you go about picking a space, and would you do anything differently now?
I don't think I'll do anything differently. We chose a co-working space. Back then it was called Entry 29. It was very natural for me. Now it's called the Canberra Innovation Network. So they were actually operating as two different organisations, and then Entry 29, I think, just kind of disappeared, and Canberra Innovation Network took over the whole co-working area. And I don't think I would do anything different. It was a really good space. It was like good energy. You want to be surrounding yourself with other startups and people who are trying to, make these things happen. So I don't think I would have done it any other way.
With the co-working, what are the benefits? How do you think about it again now with your perspective, as opposed to doing something like renting out an office? Is it about being around these people for the ideas? Is it about the business that you're trying to win? Are you at the water fountain pitching yourself like, oh, do you need a commercial? We'll shoot it for you.
I think it's a mix of all those things. Business is really interesting. It's not very linear in that sense of I'm there and I'm going to win work. It just helps to figure things out. So, some examples of just being in a co-working space over those years, you pick up work, there's people around, and great for networking. And a huge part of it we realized early was actually our networks and who we knew and who knew us and what we were capable of doing. But at the same time, it was actually for getting work done. So when we actually had a project that we needed support with, there was actually other people with skills and contractors and things like that in the co-working space that we could pull on to support projects as well. So it's actually really useful from multiple angles. But it's even just the networking and building connections and events and little things like that.
Yeah. And speaking of networking, I actually want to try a little new segment with you.
Oh, yeah.
So the backstory is that I was at a careers fair and I pitched the principal of a local economics consultancy an idea where basically their LinkedIn was clunky. So my pitch was, let me repackage your research into short, punchy content, looking at winners like JP Morgan and McKinsey, how they create posts. And I followed up with an email, but I never heard back. So I'd love to workshop this with you.
Amazing.
Was I thinking about the problem in the right way and offering the right solution? Was it the pitch itself that missed? Or is it just a volume game? Like you need to do 50 of these before one of them actually lands. So I've got this, infographic, and this is the actual email I sent. But if we just start with that for context.
That's a great idea. So, I mean, is this real? Like you're looking to expand your services?
This is just a thing that I did this year. I gave it a shot, and I love your feedback because I know that you've pitched yourself plenty of times offering a solution. Okay. And if you can walk us through your thought process, what are you seeing? What are you not seeing?
Okay.
Some pens.
Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah. I mean, all right, well, let's start with the solution. So you're offering to revamp his LinkedIn presence.
Yeah, so this is for a company. It's not just one person, but for their whole business. Had a look at their LinkedIn. It wasn't very good, frankly. Yeah.
So I take it back to, why? So why do you feel he could revamp it? Or why would it be important to him to revamp his LinkedIn presence?
So the way that I thought about it, because I know how valuable LinkedIn can be for the modern business
Yep.
is that this is, other than word of mouth, the only way that they really, that's their main public facing display. And so if you're trying to pitch yourself as essentially an expert in the area, there's real value in using platforms like that to boost your credibility, and then also, or first visibility, and then the credibility that also comes with that, with the consistency and the insights. So that was the thesis that I had in mind for that solution.
Mm-hmm.
The value in that is that they're a service provider, and so you're essentially giving free testers of, you want to pay us for our insights? Well, look at the insights that we've posted already. They're so great. You should come and pay us for a project.
Mm. It's an interesting one because when you, I've got the luxury of through my decade of running agency world and working across all different perspectives, my brain jumps in 100 different directions of how to solve this problem,
sure,
or how to approach this, right? So maybe I'll just waffle on for a little bit and share some
Give
ideas.
Us some of your insights.
Firstly, I'd want to understand the company. Why is it important to both the business as well as the individual? So there's a delineation there, the person that you're pitching to, because they've got a personal brand, and then the company itself also has a brand as well. For the company, if you're pitching to revamp their LinkedIn profile and presence, and sometimes those things are interconnected. When you're talking about the principal or founder of a business, often their brand is very strongly tied to the company brand as well, which is kind of a little bit my case. Like, I'm pretty active, not as active at the moment because I've been insanely busy, but fairly active on LinkedIn, and a lot of the content I share is what works related and what I'm learning and things like that as I grow my business. But thinking about how does this business make money? What's their actual business model? What's actually important to these guys? We take a holistic view when it comes to, like, this falls into the bucket of marketing. So from a marketing perspective, do they even have a provider for this yet? Do they have how does their website look? How does their LinkedIn look? How does their do they have an Instagram? Do they have other social profiles or things set up? Like, I'd almost want to take a holistic view of how they're operating and what they're doing. And, it may be that they don't need to revamp their LinkedIn presence because whatever they've got is working fine and they're growing and the company's doing well. And so it may not actually be a problem that they're aware of or experiencing or willing to prioritize as well. So in that sense, it can be a numbers game, because if you're talking to 100 random business owners, then maybe only 5 of them at that point in time are aware that their LinkedIn sucks and they need to revamp it. But if you find just those 5 and you talk to them instead of talking to 100, well, then all of them would go, hey, let's talk further. But that's all you get. You get a let's talk further. You might get their attention. It depends how you're reaching out. Is it a cold message? Is it a warm introduction? Is it you bump into them at events? All these things matter to how they respond to you, because you need to get their attention. And then when you do, it's your offer. What do you actually offer? How appealing is it? Does it hit their pain points? Is it affordable? Is it digestible? Are they able to tie the cost of your solution to enough value to justify the cost? Are we talking fixed LinkedIn for $500 or fixed LinkedIn for $5,000 or even $50,000?
So it sounds like to me that this is really a strategy about trying to boost demand. And so you have 2 situations. Either they don't need to boost demand. Maybe they're actually supply constrained, and so you wouldn't be fixing a problem, you'd just be making it worse. Or maybe they are demand constrained where they would benefit, but then there are two categories there where either they're either aware of the problem and they're not. Okay, so you spoke about the benefits of if they're aware of the problem, then there's that fit.
Mm-hmm.
What about if you're pitching to someone where you still see real value, you believe that you could provide a strong solution,
mm-hmm.
but you think that they're currently not aware of, maybe they're a bit older, they're not aware of LinkedIn and the momentum behind a platform like that.
Are you familiar, do you have any much of a marketing background or anything like that? So have you heard of like the marketing funnel or anything like that?
Yeah.
So, out of 100 people or so, we'll just take a sample size let's say 1,000.
Sure.
And out of those 1,000, at the very top of the funnel, you'll have the greatest amount of people, maybe, let's say 500 of those people are not even aware that LinkedIn is something that could actually have a big impact on their business, or that their LinkedIn is actually really poor and crap. That it's just not even on their radar. Like they're off saving the world and running their business and doing other things, right? So they're a bit trickier to deal with. What you want is, so for those people, they're just going about life, running their business, and maybe they come across some content somewhere, hear from a friend, however it is, they come across the idea that LinkedIn could be really good and could actually make a difference. Or, one of their friends or colleagues who runs a parallel similar business says, hey, I tried this LinkedIn thing and it's actually brought me 5 new customers. So now they're thinking, now they're aware that that's actually something that could even make a difference to them. And then they fall into that next category of the funnel of like, maybe there's only, 200-300 people, the next tier down out of the 1,000, who are now aware that LinkedIn is something that could actually make a difference for them and may potentially be open, Then you've got the next tier down. They may be actively searching for a solution. They might be going, oh yeah, cool, LinkedIn's great. I know it could actually make a difference for my business. I have no idea what to do about it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know who to talk to. Do I just go on Google and type in LinkedIn expert? Do I talk to my mate and figure out who he worked with? How do I do it? So there's people like that are just kind of aware, but they're either searching or they're not, And then the people that are searching, so people that are problem aware, searching for a solution, ready to pay for it right now, sit at the very bottom of that funnel. And out of the 1,000 or so sample size, it may only be, 3 to 5% of that audience. So at every stage of that funnel, when you're actually doing your own marketing, let's say you put out, as you grow your podcast and you start putting out materials, even in this podcast, you start going, hey, are you a business that's interested in doing content for your brand? Come have a chat, I'll set up a podcast, I'll fix your LinkedIn, I'll do all this stuff for you. That's basically through that, let's just say the few hundred listeners at the moment for the podcast. I'm not actually aware of the listener numbers, but I think it's a couple hundred. Yeah. Those people, out of them, there's a small handful that are actually problem aware and may have a business and might be going, oh yeah, I could give Nikita a shot, That's actually a good place to start because those people have already built trust with you. They've listened to your podcast. They've, come across you and seen your content and might actually engage. And you will have a much stronger shot when people are reaching out to you than when you're cold reaching out to other people. So there's, various different ways you could approach it, but if you just stuck to the podcast, kept that going, because it's getting, for an early stage podcast with like 5 interviews, it's getting decent traction. I came across it, that's how I'm sitting here today. I would, if you plan to just keep growing this and doing this, you could actually just promote yourself and your services and offerings through there and invite people to contact you, building your brand that way as well. Yep.
So that's a playbook that you used at all with Mood, of the idea of build it and they will come, that sort of philosophy?
Oh man, I did what you were doing.
Okay.
Yeah, before I learnt this, I learnt marketing later in my agency career, because I started as a creative agency. So we were downstream from marketing, where marketing would decide the strategy, what needs to be done and how, and then they'd go out to procure a video or a website or a photo shoot or something like that. So we sat more at that execution level, and I probably sat at that level for 5-6 years or so before I discovered the world of marketing. And it just people would all the time put us in the marketing bucket, and we would go, oh no, we're a creative agency. And I did that for 5-6 years, and I just stopped and went, why am I doing that? Why don't I just say we're marketing and just start doing more marketing? And it was actually in pursuit of bigger budgets, because I kept going up and up the chain and going, well, when people come to us for a video, who is it that's deciding this should only be a 5K video? Why is that decision being made and then coming to us? Like, why aren't they deciding it's a 50K video? Because we could do so much for them and have such a big impact on their business and their brand. So I went up the chain, and you find the marketing manager, and then you start talking to them. And I realized that I realized after I met really experienced marketing people that are high performers, that what true marketing really meant. And I'd met a lot of people who had marketing manager titles, but I wouldn't say they were truly doing marketing. Like, maybe they've got a very broad role where they're doing a little bit of design or a little bit of some event stuff and a little bit of social media and this and that, but it's not really marketing in the true sense. Because when you're doing marketing right, it is like the fundamental to business's growth and revenue and things like that, and needs to be treated quite seriously, and a lot of businesses don't, which is something we need to fix with What Works through our educational content.
When you think about those times of interacting with those top of the food chain marketers, what really stood out to you? What tells you that, oh, this guy's legit, or this lady really knows her stuff, as opposed to someone that just has that title on their LinkedIn?
It comes from being able to really truly identify value and what's tied to value and what's important to people. And one of those top of the food chain marketers is now my business partner. So he's one of the very early ones that I met. Shout out to Project. And I guess the further up you go, the less it becomes about vibes and feelings and this would be cool, and it goes more and more to KPIs, metrics, strategic objectives, ROI, cost per acquisition, revenue, bottom line things that are fundamental to actually being able to make decisions.
What comes first for a really strong marketer? That innate business sense, or the creative, being able to imagine something in your mind and think as an amalgamation of all the creative content that you've consumed throughout your lifetime that this Apple commercial is the one that's going to be a hit? Or does it develop at the same time? How do you think about that?
Yeah, great question. I think there's a place in the world for both. That you don't have to be this you really understand it closely to a business fundamentals. Like, you might be the most amazing podcaster and content creator in Canberra, and you're just really good at that, and you don't need to care about the business fund or any of this metrics, KPI crap. Other people can worry about that, and they know all that, and they know they're looking for a really good content creator and podcaster, and they just come to you, and you could grow a big business just doing that and be pretty happy. So, yeah, I can't actually remember what you asked, but I think there's a place for both.
Mm.
Yeah.
With Mood, once you started getting that momentum, once you learned about how to pitch yourself better and moving up the chain, as you said,
yeah,
how'd you continue to build that momentum to then land customers like Amazon or the Department of the Prime Minister? What was that journey?
Yeah, I mean, very much building blocks. We would, pitch to do some work, and then we would, and whether it was knowingly or not, it was massively underpriced, and we would do like a whole brand and website project for like $5,000 in the early days, and but I pitched that as a startup package to actually help new businesses and get them off the ground. But what I realized I was even unknowingly doing at the time was actually building up a really strong portfolio, and it meant that when I did that kind of project once for $5,000 for a construction company, the next one that rolls around, I can go, hey, check this out. I did it for this guy, Bob, who you know, because Canberra's a small place. And, to get something of this quality, it's actually $10,000 right now. So it was a lot of building blocks in that sense. So you do the work, you do the hard yards, you build up your case studies and capability and network and word of mouth and all that sort of stuff. And then slowly those bigger projects just start floating your way, And in the earlier days, I was still getting exposed to the bigger projects and opportunities. Maybe not as much today, but I definitely wasn't in a position to actually realize them because I didn't have the capability, the experience, the know-how, the case studies, the team to actually be able to deliver a, 200-300K project.
Mm.
Yeah. And I didn't even know it was a 200-300K project, right? If back then I had no, I just didn't have the experience for opportunities like that.
How, a really tactical, nitty-gritty perspective, what was your actual process of coming up with $5,000 for this, $10,000 for that? How did you learn? What lessons did you learn of, I'm sure you made some mistakes of, as you said, underpricing certain work. Yeah. What's the best way of doing it now?
So back then how it was what's someone willing to pay for this? $5,000, all right, let's just try that. How low do we need to price this before people start saying yes? And just start saying yes easily. Start there. Probably not the best way to start because we did a few of those projects and then we started going, we should probably start thinking about how much this is costing us to actually deliver and how many hours are going into this and what are our margins like and do we actually have a system or process for this, or are we every time a project comes in we're actually just having to make it up on the spot and it's all in our heads and we've got various people on the team and a project comes in and every single time we have to tell everyone what to do and how to do it and the steps and all of that where if that was properly systemized and all of that, if we know that a brand project has 5 different steps to it and each step roughly, step 1 takes 5 hours and step 2 takes 10 and step 3 takes 20 hours and, someone's salary is, $35 an hour and you can quickly start doing all the math and figuring out, well, it's costing us this much to actually do this sort of work. What should we price it at? It should at least cover all the costs at a bare minimum. And now what kind of margin is appropriate for, service industry or even our competitors or the market and, and then matching that up with, well, what are people willing to pay for this sort of stuff? And it was a very long process of trial and error. But maybe that's just called experience or wisdom or whatever it is today but now it's just stuff that I know just by intuition, I guess, just from having done it and made the mistakes.
Okay. So I think, as you outlined, you have this ceiling of the willingness to pay, and that's the hard one, because that's really hard. That's difficult to work out for a given client. And you have the cost, which you can work out yourself, how much money is going to come out of the bank account if we take this project on. So how are you thinking about where you land in between those two, between that floor and the ceiling?
Yeah.
What is the actual process that you would go through now? Because if someone's listening and let's say they're a yoga teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
How should they think about how much that class should cost or a membership should cost?
Yeah. I'll approach it two different ways, because I've got something that came to mind as you were asking that question, of something just happened today. I was trying to price something, right? So we got an inquiry from a logistics company in Monaco, Europe. Super random, just through the network. And this is how it happens today. Like we don't actually market ourselves. People are just finding us, which is awesome. And this one just came through random connections and networks and people we know. So random logistics company in Monaco sends us an inquiry, and they need this smart system built for all their, logistics and drivers and managing job scheduling and traffic routing and all of that sort of stuff, right? And we were just thinking about, how do we even price this thing? And we're looking at, we've got some current systems, stuff we've already built that we could just almost like, apps that are in our ecosystem that we kind of co-own with clients and things like that we could actually plug in and modify. And, I guess we're super flexible as a company, and that's interesting. Like we can build things from scratch, or we can plug in things we've already built, or whatever which way, and, make it a win-win for everybody. And then this one where we focused in on was like this, I guess something that we didn't have ready to just plug and play, which was like this routing mechanism that, intelligently tells people, this logistics company, like how to route their logistics and where people should drive in what order and all of that, right? And I don't know, I was just talking to the team about it, and I was like, well, that could be like could it be in the thousands? Could it be in the tens of thousands? Could it be in the hundreds of thousands? Or could it be in the millions even? And
sure.
Depending to create something like that, right? And with the information that I just gave you, it's really hard to know and to price it, because if you start diving into the details and the specificity of what's required and all of that, and now we start moving into like tech territory, and it's like, this thing could be built to pretty much any spec and any budget and any standard, and we have the capability to do that. It's about finding what is the requirements specific to that company, but what's actually appropriate. Like, so I'm looking up this company, I'm just looking at, how big are they? How long have they been around? How valuable would a system like this be for them? Is it solving a big problem for them? What's the size of that problem? If they're a 20-person company and it's solving a big problem, sure, maybe they're making, I don't know, a few mil a year or something. But if they're a 500-person company and they're making tens of millions of 100 mil plus, then that's a massive problem, and they should probably pay a lot. But also there's a lot more on the line. There's a lot more at stake. That system that we build needs to be way more reliable, and needs to be way more fine-tuned and way more efficient, and the algorithm needs to be really good. And, so it's about really just being able to understand the value of a problem that we're solving, and then identifying at the same time the right level of scope to solve that problem from like a project execution point of view. And then also at the same time understanding what's the client's view of the problem and the solution, and what are they willing to pay to get that solved, and do they even understand the complexity of what they've asked for, or do they even understand the size of the problem that they're actually dealing with, and have they married up all these concepts and actually being able to put a dollar figure to it and figure out an ROI and all that sort of stuff. So sometimes yes, and sometimes no, and we actually have to help them on that journey a little bit as well and hone in. So, I mean, that's the big broad business answer. And then for the yoga teacher, I mean, the first place you start is just looking at other yoga businesses and what are they charging. And the really simple way to just get up and started is just match the market, you know, launch your yoga business, bring it to parity with other yoga businesses and how they're operating, what they're charging. Especially if you're new, you know, you don't have to be super crazy and innovative from the get-go. But if you want to grow and you want to have a yoga franchise and take over the market and all of that, well, it's going to need to have some differentiation and some distinction, and it's going to have to be probably like a more preferable alternative to people from other yoga businesses. Maybe yours has a really cool brand and really cool music and a really cool vibe, and it actually comes with a red light therapy sauna, and it's got the ice bath, and you know, you're partnered with a gym and it's got a gym membership, and you've like, and it's aesthetically like so cool and great for Instagram, and you know, like you start tying all these concepts together, and all of a sudden your yoga business, you can start charging, you know, double what others are.
If we were to break it down for a listener, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the playbook that you just outlined is to, when you're starting, just do what the market's doing, bring yourself to parity, and then experiment with things, look at how you can differentiate, and that's what drives your margin. That's when you can start charging more than the market.
I would say so when you're new. If you're new or doing something for the first time, you can't, or you don't have the room to take as much risk, then, you know, match what's working, take some existing market share. Even sometimes with clients when they're coming to us for marketing and they have just zero, you know, we like to look at the data. We're very data driven in how we operate and the decisions we make. And sometimes there'll be, you know, big businesses that have been around for a while and they've just never done any marketing at all, ever. And they just have zero data for us to work with. And so we now then start looking externally into the market, and we look at their competitors and we look at, well, what are they doing? You know, what's actually working for them? Where are they choosing to actually focus their time and effort from a marketing point of view? Because it's, you know, it's all out there and you can find it depending how hard you dig. And there's lots of fancy tools we use that give us that info. But, you know, from that we can deduce that they're, you know, focusing their time on certain things. And if we see enough competitors in the market that are also focusing on those things, then we can form a theory and go, well, maybe we should start there and, you know, just meet the market. Like you should at least be, if you're not even competing with your competitors because you're not marketing on LinkedIn, for example, and everyone else is marketing on LinkedIn, and why don't we just get you there? Like, you know, let's get you a seat at the table. So you're even being compared on, you know, in that space with your competitors. Then let's worry. So you're actually at least still, now you're actually winning business that you wouldn't have possibly won otherwise, right? Then let's worry about making you the preferred choice or the preferred option for people, which is more about the brand, the differentiation, the distinction, the, you know, the value proposition, the all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And in a post you wrote about relinquishing control of mood after 9 years.
Poh.
You talked about the The lawyers, the accountants, the negotiations, all that crap that suddenly became your life. So I want to go through that story because I've never been through anything like that. Yeah. What does it actually look like when you're in this situation of losing your company or losing control of your company?
Yep.
And then how did that lead to What Works?
Yeah. Really tricky one, I guess. Selling your business, especially when you've got business partners that aren't best friends, let's put it that way, and aren't being transparent and openly communicating, and things aren't going the best way. It gets really difficult, and especially when you're trying to move on to bigger and better things, and when you're in a company and you're a director and you've spent a lot of time building up a company, it's sometimes it's really hard to just you can't just pull yourself out of it and very easily. You've got shares, they've got value, the company's got value, that all has to get negotiated. People have to agree, then they have to figure out how they're going to pay for it. I guess every, and then you got to figure out what the contract says, and then it's not just the money, it's all the other things, all the little bells and whistles around the money. Every one of those steps is a conversation and a negotiation, and I think sometimes it can get really challenging and overwhelming, especially if people are in disagreement over those things, and that's where it can get really tough for business owners as well, and just all consuming, because it can feel like you're in limbo, but once you get through it and things go well, life gets a lot better.
Yeah, let's look at now once you got out of that mess.
Yeah.
At that point, you'd had nearly a decade of experience.
Mm-hmm.
What did you set up differently the second time round to avoid some of those difficult situations?
Yep.
And were there things that felt really hard with the first business that came a lot easier the second time round?
Yeah, I think the first business, because I started it so young, I think I was like 18. 18 or 19, like second year of uni. And I kind of just fell into it and just met a few people, and we just thought, we hadn't really known each other prior, and we just thought, let's just give this thing a go. So this time around, I really wanted to make sure I was being very intentional about the team that I was putting together, and I really just wanted an A team, and I really wanted people who were really strongly aligned and shared the same vision and wanted the same things and wanted to, do things the same way as well. So I spent 6 months planning. I found the business partners that I wanted, and a lot of them were already in my network, and people I was actually really good friends with as well, just through the business journey, and started talking to them, started planning. 6 months of just vision building, workshopping, thinking through what it is and what it could be and what we could do, and how we wanted to do, and all of that. So really, really strong, crystal clear alignment. And then we started the business this time around. So, and that has made a huge difference. Like today with What Works, the relationship we have between us four directors is really, really strong. And we're definitely seeing the benefits of that for the company and how fast it's growing at the moment.
And I know that you're really passionate and interested in tech and innovation. How does that side of your passion show up in some of the projects that you've gone to work on with What Works Global? have you ever been pushed into something that was more of that deep tech as opposed to your background in marketing and the consumer-facing side?
I think where I've found... So with What Works Global, because we've got 4 directors now, and, we have, with each director, actually deep specialization. We've got a marketing director who is an absolute machine, has been like one-man army marketing team for $100 million size engineering firms and big ASX-listed companies. We've got a technical director who, same, one-man army, building entire apps and things by himself. And we've got a creative director who has done entire branding projects and campaigns and creative projects on his own. For the likes of Amazon and big brands, it was working with me at Mood, and then we've got myself, who's just good at sales and growing companies and connecting people together and somehow just kind of figuring things out, and things are working. So I've lent more down into like strategy, commercial, sales. So I've taken on the managing director role, and so my business, my role is a lot more just very business focused, and probably aligns with my degree, which is entrepreneurship. And so in that sense, I'm really big and broad with my role, and I go across all areas of tech, brand, marketing, business strategy, sales and commercials and all that sort of stuff as well. So I now have really strong people I can rely on for tech, so I don't have to go as deep.
If you could add one more superpower to the mix, whether that's another person or just a capability that you don't have yet, what would you add to that roster of superheroes that you've outlined?
Oh, man.
What's on your Christmas wish list?
I've got a few, actually.
Okay.
One, and what's interesting, we actually recently did I pulled myself and a few, the 4 directors together, and we did a bunch of like psych tests, and looked at, it's called HBDI. So we looked at our thinking preferences, and we found that we're all really strong in 3 out of 4 areas. And the area we were strongest in was actually the yellow, which is big picture, vision, and opportunities and ideas and solutions and all that. So and that's really interesting, because that allows us to create a lot of alignment. And you notice that we get together and we talk a lot and we share a lot of ideas, and we're always just like having a great time. We were really weak in execution in the green area. So green is a lot more focused on the planning, the structure, the timelines, the milestones, the rigor. And so I think that was very insightful. And it's not that we had none of it. It was just that only one of our 4 directors was really showing strong thinking preferences towards it. It's not that we're weak in it. The type of test we did was that showing us the sort of work we prefer to do, right? And so we need to find somebody who is a really strong execution and doer.
You need a COO, like a daily operator.
Exactly. A general manager, a COO, or operations manager, and I think that's something that we're missing, and maybe missing intentionally at the moment, because we're prioritizing other areas of the business, and there's big broad area of places we could actually hire. We could also really use a really solid technical PM as well, and we the actual dream hire at the moment, although it's a bit lower in the list because there's other priorities, but I really want a content creator on the team. I want someone who's actually doing all our internal content, putting out a weekly vlog, doing our big email campaigns, all our social media content posts and all that. I know how incredibly important that is and how big of a difference it can make with that sustained effort over time. It's about just getting to a point where we can, fully justify a dedicated hire that is just purely working on the internal content of the business. We've got plenty of staff work, but focuses, or a lot of that focus is on clients and their projects as well.
And in terms of your Christmas wish list, if we flip that page over and you've got a bit more blank space to write something else down, is there a technology or a space you'd love to work on through What Works but you haven't had a chance yet?
100%. There's three,
okay,
and these are like my big three technologies that I feel are already transforming the world and will just continue to as well. And I'm trying to position myself both personally and with my business to be riding all those waves as well. And it's the three that I'm really interested in as well. But the first is AI. It's pretty obvious. And we were, very interested in AI and doing AI projects before ChatGPT and all that was even a thing. ChatGPT has been really, really great because it means the adoption of AI and people's understanding of it and its possibilities has like massively accelerated. So it's become a lot easier to actually sell it and offer it, and people have started searching for it, and because they know what it can actually do for them, or have some idea, I guess. So that's really exciting. We've actually built up capability for it. Second is robotics. So robotics and automation. So, where AI is going to really have a massive impact on all knowledge work, and it's already begun. And, I feel it's starting with just really massively increasing productivity and making people work a lot more efficiently and be able to output a lot more. We may see it, start to just completely replace roles as well, and already seeing a lot of that with junior developers in big tech companies, and we've all been hearing that. So and then with robotics, where AI replaces knowledge work, well, robotics starts to replace physical labor, and already seeing it. Look at Amazon with their factories. Next up is automated driving. You've got the robo-taxi, you've got Waymo, you've got all sorts of autonomous vehicles. And that is just the precursor to, humanoid robots that are going to be walking around, sooner than we might think, and providing a lot of services to humanity. And then third to that is blockchain technology. And I think blockchain technology is actually really, really exciting, but also really misunderstood or not well understood. I think it's also going to have a huge impact, but I actually think AI and robotics is going to have a greater impact as well, because lots of reasons. But yeah, they're the three areas. So it's projects in that space that excite me the most. And we're, positioning as this, cutting edge firm, and doing large scale digital innovation style projects as well. So moving more and more, leaning more and more that way, and searching for that sort of work. But that's not to say we can't do all the stuff we've been, spent 10 years building up our experience and expertise in. It's just, that's the stuff that also personally excites me.
Final question from me, Shooby. What's next?
What's next? I feel like I actually just answered that.
What's next from you, let's say in the next 3 to 6 months?
3 to 6 months. Oh my God.
And how should people follow your journey over the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, there's actually a lot going on with us behind the scenes. Our entire business model is actually changing. I've been using the word agency a lot. It's kind of almost turning into a some kind of weird mix of boutique consultancy private equity firm where
Wow.
we're actually exploring opportunities where we either buy or take a stake in existing companies and service them. And so we've realized along this journey that we're actually really good at growing companies and commercializing companies and building digital products and to a certain extent operations as well, and starting to come across opportunities where clients are actually really interested in partnering with us, you know, at a deeper level than just like a supplier provider sort of relationship. So exploring those sorts of opportunities. We're on the brink of buying a health company.
Wow.
So looking to diversify our business model into health services. That this is like a strategic move for us because with AI coming, we're actually very cautious of that as well, and a lot of things that are going on in the world. So being able to have a health company gives us a lot of room to try something different and expand into that space and grow that. So lots of joint ventures and building out this group model. So maybe most people have known us as What Works Global, which is the consultancy and transformation and innovation type services. But we also actually above that have What Works Ventures, which is actually the venture firm that can build out this group of companies and build a bit of a portfolio of businesses. So that's definitely in the works, and there's at least 3 conversations happening at the moment for joint venture style opportunities like that. So I think I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, or at least try to be. So that's probably the best place. But I'm very happy to grab a coffee or catch up with anybody anytime. So I'm pretty accessible. So based just out of the Canberra Innovation Network. So feel free to add me on LinkedIn, reach out, say hello. Happy to network anytime.
Guys, reach out to Shooby, say hello, grab a coffee.